This is Living Your Life Well Plan, the 80-20-365 system with Adam Vincent Gilmer. I'm your host, Gene Velitis, and welcome to episode number 11, How to Determine and Set Up Your Monthly Objectives and Goals. And as always, as we say here on the podcast, to get the most out of these free podcasts, or if you're on Adam's website and watching the video, make sure you order your daily planner and check out the rest of the site and all of the resources that are available to you. It's 80-20-365.com. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, you're going to really need this daily planner. It's going to make everything in your life easier. You'll be able to follow along the podcast. And it's just actually something that you're going to be holding on to and using for the rest of your life. And like Adam and like me, you'll have a room, maybe your office or somewhere in your condo, your apartment, or your house where you're going to have a giant stack of these books. And what's really fascinating, and if you're new to this, you'll realize this in about a year or two, or maybe just even after 3 months, you'll go back and you'll look through these and you'll say, my goodness, I really got a lot accomplished in my life, and it was all because of this daily planner. So here we are, Adam, on episode 11, how to determine and set up your monthly objectives and goals. First of all, I guess we need a bit of a definition. What are objectives and goals? Is there a difference? So maybe you just want to talk about that generally, then we'll deal specifically, one, objectives, and then secondly, goals. So to begin with, objectives and goals, are they different? Are they alike? Or is there a definition?
Okay. Well, as you know, Gene, goals and writing things down give us motivation and direction. When somebody has a book and they look at the title of the book and they look to buy it, or maybe it's a bestseller, whatever the case is, they read the cover, they may read the synopsis at the back of the book or what have you, the introduction, and the objectives are coming in the daily pages, the actual reading of the book. So when you set a goal is like, hey, you want to have a house or a car or whatever. But now there's other things that go along with that. You want to decorate the house, right? Now, the goal is the house, but now we're going to get into the true definitions and objectives of what we're actually doing in the house. What kind of lighting do you want to put in it? And the more clearer that it becomes, which is why it's important to write this stuff down, the more that you're using your creative energy, the right-hand side of your brain, to actually make it happen, putting it into thought energy, and then it's into planned energy, and then we actually do it. That's the difference. So we all have goals. Let's get married. Well, what kind of woman do you want to get married to, or man do you want to get married to? You want a relationship. It's a goal. But now let's go and look at the true definition of what that happens to be. One of the things I'd written down in my planner was the kind of shape that I wanted to be in. For those just listening, I turned 50 this year, milestone apparently. I don't feel 50, but I have a goal for what I believe my body weight should be. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't do the work. And the work is in the definitions. The work is in the objectives of actually, here's the objective of what I was defining for the goal. And that's what we're talking about. Are they different? Yes. Are they the same? Yes. But you have to understand the difference between setting a goal and defining it, having the objectives that go along with it to make these things come about in your life.
Now, some people...
Make sense?
Yes, it does. So, I think a lot of people set goals for things they know they can achieve, and they make it easy. Would you suggest that people set goals for things that frighten and scare them and excite them at the same time? I mean, set goals for things that
Absolutely.
are really, really big, and to set goals that are really, really big, you really have to start dreaming.
I think most people, when the scary goal really shows up, I really believe that that's the passion inside of you that really wants to happen, but you believe they're scary, or you feel that they're scary because you don't maybe know how to get it done, okay? And I was talking about this earlier before the internet went crazy. I have goals and dreams that still scare me. I'm going to tell you one of them. A good partner of mine who lives up in LA, you know him well. He showed me this castle in France, okay? And he
Okay.
said, yeah, see? And he's like, hey man, we should probably go and buy this. And like, I'm thinking for our business and our recruiting and our stuff, it would be, an amazing thing. Now, just so you know, it has a moat around it. It's like this 16th century thing. It is gorgeous. Okay. A lot of upkeep. It's affordable, not something that I'm really looking to do, but it tickled my fancy. What am I trying to tell you is that it's scary. I don't, not that I think the thing's haunted, but it's scary having something say, listen, you know what? Hey, imagine I said, Gene, or the folks listening, hey, come and visit us at our castle in France. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, oh my God. And we set a goal. And actually, I'm going to go see him later this week in Los Angeles, because I'm not traveling that much in this month because of the virus. But we have a plan to make that happen. And both of us haven't pulled the trigger yet. It's a little scary, but it's so worth it. And, in the back of my mind, it's actually one of the things that I had written down many, many, many years ago, was that I think it'd be fun to live in a castle. Just saying. Now, people are going to ask as watchers, hey, did you get the castle? Did you get the castle? No, we haven't done it yet, but it's a plan. It's a big idea. What does it mean? Well, let me now go and define it. The objective is, it's a lifestyle thing. Okay. And a lot of people look at their goals and dreams and write things down, but really what they're trying to do is have and live a better lifestyle. Okay. And when you start to look at your life and set these monthly objectives up, 5 years, breaking it down, what you're really asking the universe to do for you is to give you, why do you want better health? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to have all these things, or these goals, objectives? It really and truly comes down to, you want to live a much better life, which translates into having a better lifestyle. If we're doing a recruiting campaign and we're telling people, here's what we're doing, come and visit us at our castle in France, it already gives you an idea, just in that frame, what that might look like, right? Your mind just exploded with the idea of, and what you're looking at, Gene, what the listeners listening to, they're thinking, what does the castle look like in France? But their mind makes up the answer for them. This is the kind of things that I'm talking about when it says, is your dream big and scary? Yeah, it's scary. I also set the goal this year. Actually, I set the goal last year. I didn't hit it. We were very successful, but I didn't hit it. And it was a rank advancement in the direct sales company that I'm in. There's only 5 people that have ever reached this rank in the company, and I'm at very, very close to getting it done. But 2 years ago, when I set the goal, the dream was, here's the rank and level I wanted to hit. I said, man, what kind of work am I going to have to do? What kind of person am I going to have to become? Which new people are going to help me achieve that? What do we have to develop inside the sales organization, or the teams, or the working? And what I did, Gene, is I wrote it down in my planner, underneath my finances, underneath the money tab. And it wasn't a number in money. It was about helping more people hit a certain rank level of sales and development. And we're very, very close to getting it done now. It might happen here in the next 3 to 4 months that I'll hit this rank. It's hard, but it's worth it. But I have it written down in my planner underneath my financial stuff. It's underneath my financial goal. Okay. And by the way, the other thing that I do every single day for everybody is that I already believe I'm at that rank. I already believe that I'm the successful person. And all I'm doing is, these are goals and definitions and objectives of the person that I'm designing, because I believe when I'm here, I will have achieved it already. And what's also important is that I'm acting like that person.
Right.
It's not something that I'm saying, let me not act on my goals and dreams. And by acting, I'm actually living out the definition of it, what the objective is. And these are all important. And by the way, you can have this big, huge thing, my purpose statement, my big, huge 5-year plan. But what you have to do for everybody is, nothing gets there taking big, big steps. Okay. What you'll find is, more often than not, is small, little directional changes lead to long-term massive dream and game.
Right.
And it's not, and it's not something, oh, Monday morning, I'm taking this big step. No, today, start doing something a little different to walk you towards your goals and dreams so that your objective is actually hit and you become that person. As I said, it's about having a better lifestyle, Gene, and that's what the goals and dreams are desired to do. And you really look at everybody's goals and dreams, and it took me years and years and years to figure this out. The reason why people set goals and what have you, this is what they want to make happen in their life. But when you really find out why they want that thing to happen, they wanted to live and have a better life or lifestyle. It wasn't so much that the $1 million in the bank or what have you. It was, what kind of person will they become when they've actually achieved the $1 million in the bank? And it all comes down to, personal lifestyle and personal choice.
Right. Now, two things I want to hit on right there is, when you set these objectives and you set these goals, you're going to run into a couple of things. One is that little voice inside of you in your subconscious mind. And, you're going to write down the goal of, well, I want the castle in France, or I want the really nice car, or I want the beautiful something or other. And that little voice is going to hear you say that. And it's going to say, you don't know how to get that beautiful car. You're never going to have a castle in France. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get that. And on the other side of that as well, and you hit on a little bit, there is an incubation period. I mean, you don't throw seeds out of a window and see flowers the next day. So
No.
how do you fight that paradigm, that little voice inside, when you're announcing your goal to yourself every single morning in your purpose statement, but that little voice comes in and says, oh, you have no idea how to achieve this?
I'm thinking back to when I actually had those little voices that tell me that, because I don't have those voices anymore. Okay. And I know that sounds kind of weird. I do have the voice. I don't have the negative pulling away from, hey, you can't do, or you can't achieve, or this. I have voices, the same voice has just been really trained to move in a direction that's like, but for the folks listening, and I agree with Gene, when you're doing this for the first couple of times and getting your wheel set up and everything else, it's scary to hear the real you talking to yourself, because what it's really saying is, don't push yourself. You don't deserve. You're not qualified. You're not good looking enough. You're not fat enough. You're not nothing enough. Okay. That negative voice that's talking to you really and truly stems from some programming that took place in your life years and years and years and years and years ago. Maybe when you were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, a teenager, things that you looked at and you said, oh, you'll never have that. What I find is that if you listen to that little voice, you can train it. You can give it some help to move it towards, of course you're deserving enough. This is why you should go and get that. What kind of an amazing person will you be when it's achieved? And when you get yourself around that kind of thinking, you've immediately moved yourself. And I know I started out saying that I don't have this negative stuff anymore. I still have the voice inside, but the voice inside me is not telling me I can't. The voice inside me is saying, you deserve, you will, you are, I am. It's the same voice. It's just been honed in and trained over the years. I'm expecting that some people are going to have this negative voice going, oh yeah, that's my inner subconscious talking to myself. You can train that to get anything that you want. Oh, by the way, here's the other thing. So go ahead. You're going to say something.
I have found through your system that reading my purpose statement 3 times a day is my fire extinguisher that puts out the negative thoughts, because it can't compete with my purpose statement.
1,000%. In fact, your purpose statement is supposed to be so strong that it lifts you up.
Yes.
It allows you to do a recheck and say, oh, and by the way, the reason why you want to read it, you can read it more than 3 times a day. Okay. If you want to, you can fall in love with it. The reasons why I want to read it is it's a truing. Like when you're playing a guitar or piano or any instrument, there's a tuning that has to go on before it's optimal. Okay. And what this does is it pulls you back in line to get tuned. It pulls you back in line to get tuned. Pulls you back in line to get tuned. And after, like Pavlov's dogs, when they rang the bell and fed them food, and then they were just ringing the bell and the dogs were salivating, they become conditioned. And when you become conditioned to this stuff, the moment something actually and it works for me. The moment something goes negative in my life right now, or somebody says something that I'm not in tune with and that doesn't agree with me, I immediately say something about it or move myself away from it on purpose. Once again, on purpose, because
Yeah.
this is what happens, right?
It's the old checkup from the neck up if something negative comes
Zig
along.
Ziglar.
Yeah.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and let's talk about that incubation period,
Okay.
because people set goals and they really want something to happen, and they're following your system, they're reading their purpose statement, and 90 days, 180 days down the road, it's just not happening, and they get discouraged. It's just like, if you want to have a child, it's going to take 9 months. You're not going to have a child in a week. But you know what? People do get discouraged a little bit with their goals, even if they do the
Right.
checkup from the neck up. So how do you emphasize that? Yeah, there is an incubation period, and don't sweat it. It's going to happen.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, okay? But if you take a look at the Roman Empire and the history of it, it spread through all the most known world. And I've traveled through most of the world. I've seen, the stuff in top of Africa and around the world. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is Roman. Um, how do you get over this? Look, if the dream or goal is really worth it for you, okay, while you're on the grind, the losing the weight on the treadmill, while you're in the moment, it's not supposed to be easy, Gene. It's not, achieving, being a high achiever and making something work isn't easy. Okay. But you have to ask yourself, is your life going to be worth it when you've achieved it? And then here's the other thing. Why do you want to keep yo-yo dieting or starting and stopping and like getting, being in this place, tickle toggle, tickle toggle, tickle toggle? It's not a lot of fun. What you want to do is that it's painful. When I say painful, it's more like, it feels like it's a drudgery, but it's really not. What you're doing is you have to be willing to go through what you have to go through to get where you really want to get to, so that you can become an example, not only for yourself, which is the first thing that happens, but an example for other people. Because if other people see you hitting your goals and living your dream, people are going to be very proud of you. Okay. I love to give people the recognition of like, man, congratulations on just doing this, that, or the other, whatever it is. I know it's hard. When I say it's hard, it's not easy for the majority of the people. But remember, we're not talking about you being part of the Rams, right? I have a name for them. And, it's kind of a little bit negative. It's called the raggedy ass masses, RAMS, okay? You don't have to stay at part of those people. How do you start moving yourself above? And I didn't say that you're better. What I'm saying is that mentally, you're going to start moving yourself, and by writing your goals and dreams down, having your definition of what your objective or what you really want to have happen, keeps you on track to say, listen, you're almost there. You're almost there. You're almost there, and never giving up. There's those pictures that we've all seen. Or stories you've heard where people have quit, 3 feet before they've hit the gold, right? The person digging in the tunnel.
Yes.
Just keep digging, man. At the end of the day, you're going to get there. And it's not easy. And sometimes it is tough. And even for me, it's tough to, sometimes look at this next rank. I didn't hit it last year. Okay. You see me negative about it? No, I'm like, okay, let me reassess. Let me realign. Let me see what I have to do. What work do I have to follow? So I go out and make it work. So I'm in the same process as the person who's listening to our podcast or following us here online. I'm in the same process. I know, look, Gene, you have your goals, your dreams, your objectives. You have your studio, you got your team with you doing your thing. We have another person behind the scenes here, on our side, lining everything up. I work with him and his wife almost every single day here in my business, okay? We have sales organizations growing around the world. I'm not expecting that everybody's following through to make my dream happen. But by me working with Derek, you, the team, Alexa, my wife, what have you, everybody has their own goals, dreams, aspirations of what they would like to see happen in their lives. Well, this is a way where you stick with it. And by the way, that's the other thing, sticking power and work ethic, okay? If it was easy, everybody
would do it. Yeah, exactly.
You just have to grind through it.
Yeah. And if you're just starting the program, Adam and I have got to emphasize one other point before we wrap up this episode. it's going to feel a little strange at first. And you know why? You're leaving your comfort zone, and that's why they call it a comfort zone. And you're going to encounter the fear barrier, the terror barrier. But once you get past the fear and terror barrier, there's a lot of really cool things on the other side that you've
Oh,
never discovered before.
no, absolutely. Look, if I can encourage anything, I'll get some word of encouragement out there, and you're listening here today, and it's this. It's okay to have fear, but it's not okay to continuously live with it. That's a choice. You can, like Gene said, step on the other side of the circle, live with abundance, go for your dreams, make the most out of what's happening. I'm not getting visceral bumps talking to you this way right now. That's what it takes. It's a simple little barrier mentally that you have to cross. Gene, I actually have another gentleman in town. We've been shooting training video, and we're doing this huge big training site that we're going to be launching as a dream team. And we're at this incredible resort where my wife and I got married. That's where he's staying. And he asked me, he said, what was the switch for you that moved you from going here to there? And I said, you know what, that's interesting. I remember when I first got into the direct sales industry, and I'm an immigrant from South Africa, and I'm learning how to do this business. And, it was hard in the beginning because I didn't know. I had no idea, like opening a planning. I mean, I didn't know. But, and I know I'm going to end on this, and I know people are going to get a good chuckle, but here's the deal. I remember building my income up to where it was the first time I'd ever made $20,000 in a month. Okay. Now that's different today because, we do that in a day. Okay. But like, this is going back years ago. And I remember, and back then we used to get a sales report and one check a month. Okay. And the sales report would come with the check, and it was like a printed out, organization on computer paper. And I remember getting that check, and I went down to the bank, and I actually ended up cashing the check. It took a couple of days. There was a hold. We finally cashed the check. And I was telling the story to my colleague here who's working with us on this training system, online training thing that we're doing. And I said, I remember getting the money out of the bank, and I went home. And at that time, I didn't have, houses and whatever. We were still building our business. And I laid out $100 bills on my bed. Okay, all the $100 bills across the bed, and I was still taking it in. I know this sounds crazy, but this is the switch that made me realize, man, I could do probably $100,000 a month. Okay, and the deal was, Gene, I fell asleep with my money. So I tell people I slept with my money, not to be funny, but to tell you, literally, that was the moment. I said, man, I've done it. Now, I had the goal and dream written down. I'd like to make this a month. I'd like to make this a month. But when I finally got there, I was like, and it was like, that was the toggle switch for me to say, well, if I could do 20, I can do 50. If you can do 50, you can do 100. If you can do 100, you can do 1,000,000. And that was the progression. And it doesn't have to be that size of a check for the person listening. It might be $1,000. It might be 500. Okay. What I'm trying to emphasize is that making the mental note of the toggle that moved for me maybe will give you some inspiration on the website, that when you're going through the 80/20 planner and you're planning stuff out, you're going to write things down that haven't happened yet. You're literally going to be a fortune teller. Okay. You're going to define it. You're going to have the objective of what you plan on doing. This will be happening at the end of this month, for this month, or these 5 years. And when you see it come to pass, because you wanted to come to pass, and you've planned and you've organized, and you see it come to pass, that I want you to make a mental note of that, ding, the toggle switch going, what you wrote down that hadn't happened yet, you literally foretold that is going to happen for your life. And it's that mental little switch that makes all this stuff come together and work, Gene. So, I know we're coming to the end on this particular episode, but this is what it's about. It's about getting people to live their dreams and go for it and not to be afraid.
Now, interestingly enough, you need some tools to manifest that. So coming up on our next episode number 12, this is very, very timely right after this one, how to actually use the 80/20 rule. Couldn't be more important.
Love it.
As we always say, make sure you go to Adam's website, 80/20/365.com. Order that daily planner, check out the rest of the website, and follow along with us. This is going to be life-changing for you. It's life-changing for us as well because we just love doing this. It's living your life well planned, the 80/20/365 system with Adam Vincent Gilmer. I'm your host, Gene Velitis. Stand by. We're coming up to episode number 12, how to use that 80/20 rule.